It's hola, this is VJ, and you're here with me for another Headspace album review. Now, I'm talking about a brother who has fired up the GQ, that's Gqeberha, that's PE, for those that don't know, hip-hop scene for a number of years. Originally from Grahamstown / Makanda. This is a brother who goes by the name of Epic TheScriptwriter. Now, Epic TheScriptwriter is part of the duo Supremacy alongside Optic Nerve, whose album we reviewed earlier on. And I guess it's beautiful that the brothers are coming together. It's like a wonderful crescendo. Everybody in hip-hop right now is rediscovering themselves in an age where trap is inundating everything. Boom bappers are learning to reinvent themselves. Rappers are growing old. Young rappers are trying to find their way. It's beautiful. Hip-hop is finally like a fully grown middle-aged man with kids. And these kids are also rebellious. And it's a really nice little close-knit family of urban artistic growth and integrity. But now, back to Epic. Epic has always been one of the most interesting MCs in, like I said, the PE space, because a lot of MCs, now this is for rappers in general, rap, because of its kind of hyper masculine roots, has always been in a place where rappers are either trying to be assertive and dominant, or they're trying to be swagged out. It's like men either pride themselves with being slick or being strong, and I feel like this energy is conveyed in a lot of our favorite MCs. Practically, it's an omnipotent cloud that covers how almost every rapper has approached the art form. You either approach the art form as a rapper trying to prove yourself, and you go into this battle rap mode where you're fighting against the world, yourself, and it's just or you just kind of relaxed. You learn to kind of adopt the world is gonna come to me anyway kind of approach. You let your confidence ride you out. You let your belief in yourself be your major pull. And that's kind of like the swag factor. So the swag versus aggressive factor has kind of been like a pendulum, so to speak, of how rappers approach the art. And I feel like this pendulum comes at the expense of a human touch. Because if you're too swagged out, it kind of compromises your ability to convey yourself in other ways. If you're too aggressive, it does the same thing, because we're neither just angry or just confident. Sometimes we're in pain, sometimes we're scared, sometimes we're uncertain, and the voice is an instrument that can convey all of those emotions. And this is something I'm going to say a lot. Rap is spoken word art. We think about the art, we think about the words, we hardly think about the actual speaking. Hip-hop is a speaking art form, and voice matters, projection matters. Finding a way to make your voice as a rapper accommodate the full spectrum of human emotions with music on top of that is an art form that is not easy, trust me. But if you love it, it's gonna go down in a way where the effort is gonna be part of your growth and part of that playful process. And talking about playful, Epic TheScriptwriter, with what is now his third project, this for me probably his best work yet. I mean, we've got production from the Godfathers, we've got Nangamso on this, we've got people on this who have really decorated themselves with giving the overture for South African hip-hop's sonic experience. And I think Epic pulled in from some of the biggest guns, because this was something he really wanted to kind of reflect his growth as an MC, and also the level of where he wants to kind of peak at with this one. It's titled Nangamso, which is his real name. And whenever rappers do that, it's a direct entry into their personal life. It's saying, okay, here's the rapper, but behind the rapper, here's what are the ingredients that have made my life. Here's what are the things that have ultimately led to what you get to hear as a listener. So this is really a personal memoir. And as a personal memoir, I feel like it succeeds. These are definitely Epic's most vulnerable raps, most intimate raps, and probably even most technical raps. You got some bars in here, you know? And I think it's really important to factor that in, because again, the skill needs to be appreciated. The beats are on point. We've got something that feels really light. It doesn't attempt to be heavy, and even when he addresses crucial issues, the instrumentals are just really light on your feet. They're able to kind of take you in a place where even if it's kind of an album that attempts to go within, you don't feel like it's an introspective album, so to speak. He manages to capture parts of himself without taking you into a place that feels too much like a cave, that it feels too limited. It feels too much like an experience you need to listen to by yourself in a particular kind of mindset. It's definitely the kind of album that you could play. There's songs here you could play in a club. There's songs here that you definitely could play in a car, that you could listen to in the earphones. So kudos to Epic for kind of giving us a project which speaks to the range of sound and human emotion. Now, back to the pendulum of voice and the pendulum of tone. Epic's voice is interesting, to say the least. He's a rapper who's able to, with a voice that doesn't have a lot of tonal range, still manage to make his music fun to listen to. One, because he's got something a lot of MCs don't have. Humor. This motherfucker's really funny. He actually is anecdotal. He's able to make simple raps which are relatable, but at the very same time, he has these funny little quips that, you know, sometimes border on being corny, but it's the kind of corny that you gotta love. And that's the thing about Epic. He's an MC whose approach to the game is rooted in kind of a middle ground that I think is right there in the art of how to niche yourself as a great MC. You don't put yourself in the aggressive corner, neither do you put yourself in the swag corner. You navigate the world of your own voice, and you do that by addressing your emotions in the most broadest way possible. And being fun, being lighthearted goes a long way, because a lot of hip-hop is characterized by the aggression, the proving oneself as the best. And Epic is still an MC on that kind of agenda. I mean, he's not shy to tell you he thinks he's nice, but he does it in a way where he can smile at you and he can laugh at it. And you take him seriously to a certain degree. It captures a humorous approach that kind of is resemblant of a Peter Pan symbol. Now, Peter Pan, for those who might not know, is the kid who didn't want to grow up. And I feel like a lot of times when I listen to Epic, I'm in that world. I'm listening to a guy who's learned to cope with his life, who's learned to take life and deal with it humorously. He paints a surrealistic world which is really driven by that kind of humor. And even when he delves into the intimate parts of his life, he does it humorously. Like on a track like Village Bicycle, which definitely is one of the standout tracks of the Nangamso project, he is having a dialogue with his past in the form of his mother and in the form of kids he grew around. And it's just a coming of age story, and yes, you directly relate to it from that level of the narrative. But again, he does it using humor. And this is something about Epic that I feel is both his strength and somewhat his weakness, because his tonal range fails to go beyond playfulness. Even in tracks where he might have had needed to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more contained, and a little bit more stern in his vocal approach, Epic always opts to bounce on the beat like a jolly cartoon. And I guess his music is a little bit like watching your favorite cartoon as a kid. He captures life in caricature mode. He captures all of the things about life that are hard, but in a way that delivers it with a wackiness, with a silliness. And you can't help but love it, but at the very same time, I feel like it comes at the expense of being kind of serious. And it might make the listener feel, if the listener is looking for something a little bit broad from an emotional range perspective, that this guy is always happy about everything. And even when things are not necessarily ideal, he always finds the silver lining, and maybe that can be hopeful to you. And I feel that ultimately, if we're listening to Nangamso from a sonic perspective and taking into consideration its aesthetic, the album is definitely one which captures the depth, which captures the originality. It captures a lot of what Epic is about. But, and this is a strong but, his vocal projection, his actual voice remains in one place. The man is always a playful rapper. The man is always a rapper with a childlike spirit. And this eternal child, like I said, is at the very same time what you love about him. However, I do feel it might just be that thing that does not push him beyond a certain kind of scope. Epic has all the makings of a great MC, and I think ultimately what all great MCs also have is a projection that allows them to swing from humorous to sad to silent to aggressive to swagger and still maintain that same level of integrity. And I think the only reason why I wouldn't rate Nangamso as a solid overall project is the fact that the voice element tends to be a little bit monotonous. But other than that, definitely one of the most powerful offerings in SA, I think, in a long time. Introspective, hip to the movement, lyrics on point, songwriting is cool. Even though some of the hooks, like I said, can sometimes be a little bit cornball. I mean, commercial is cornball half of the time. I guess we've learned to ingest that, and maybe Epic is learning to navigate around that. So I say Nangamso, and I say thank you to Epic for giving us a solid project. What am I gonna give it? I'm gonna have to give it a 7. That 3, that 8, 9, 10 would have been taken to the next level had his voice projection been able to capture what I think is a wide variety of emotions with a voice that matches, with an approach that matches. So from VJ, this is the Headspace. This has been another album review. Join us for the next one. See you again.
Once upon a son, a little one got out his cage and got a nifty BMX and stepped on foot off stage. But he just really wants to ride this bike in lolly lanes. Oh, but mama cut him off, and this is what she says. Banga deskin vume yonke londo sazo khule. Ngibaye mosha yele phata takho saza kuye. Yuna ngamso chimbe tuna cela yeke dlule. And if ihambe nawe phobna ya